Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn down to My Canary Bird, poem number 9 of the 58 of Sands at 70. This is a fascinating little poem because Whitman was interested in props. So, for example, he had a stuffed canary that ultimately he ended up gifting to a couple of chaps from Bolton, England, Wallace and Johnson, and they ended up forming this Eagle Street College group that spent quite a bit of time studying the work of Whitman. There was some gifting involved back and forth, and in the end, Whitman gifted them actually his stuffed canary at the end of his life. Now, our assumptions are that you followed our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Talks with Walt, our playlist, and that you were with us, hopefully, from the very beginning, inscriptions up through and including a set of introductory comments to Sands at 70, and as well, we just finished with Sit Writing. Our Nortons will tell us very little about this poem other than it was first published in the New York Herald, March 2nd, 1888. Now, the fact that it's called My Canary Bird doesn't tell us anything about it being stuffed or any of those kinds of things. And notice this poem is constructed around two rhetorical questions, and I think he is very still interested in the idea of writing. Let's take a look at it. Did we count great, O soul, to penetrate the themes of mighty books, absorbing deep and full from thoughts, plays, speculations? But now, from thee to me, caged bird, to feel thy joyous warble, filling the air, the lonesome room, the long forenoon, is it not just as great, O soul? Now, obviously, this poem doesn't work if we know that the canary is stuffed, which it was. But it is a brilliantly constructed poem in that it is two questions. The first is, speaking again to his soul. We're familiar with this construction, obviously, from Song of Myself. He says, did we think it was important, great, to penetrate, it's an interesting word, the themes of mighty books? Go back to Shut Not Your Doors from those inscription poems that we read. And in the process, here's what he tells us he was trying to do. Absorb deep and full from thoughts, plays, speculations. In other words, it was important, he says, all that reading that I did, all that speculation, that philosophic speculation. And yet, that's not any greater than now listening to this caged bird, his canary bird, feel the joyous warble. We're altogether familiar with his use of the word warble, but the phrase joyous warble only gets used one time, and it's right here. As it fills the air, but notice he calls it the lonesome room. Again, these poems work together if you read them together. Go back to what he says about lethargy, and as I said, writing here, the lonesome room, and then of course the long forenoon. It's those long hours in the afternoon. He asks a rhetorical question: isn't the song of that bird just as great as the themes of mighty books? Now, this will be interesting because you'll remember that he'll say at the conclusion of Song of the Open Road, might not the cry of a teacher leave the book open and unread and all of that. This tension, in other words, between studying about something and experiencing it. Go back to our comments, of course, with, Learned Astronomer, for just one example, if you will. I think what he's saying at 2A is that the quest for understanding and to draw from great literature is the same quest to draw from nature itself. In the end, it's all about trying to come to terms with putting the two together. Nature and, of course, the more speculative arts like reading and like writing. I love the power at 2B. I love the power of the rhetorical question here and the way he has a brilliant way of answering it. At 3A, obviously Shelley's To a Skylark comes to mind. Whitman loved his Shelley. I love to think of Michelangelo's classic autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, of course built on Dunbar's great poem, classic poem. The idea, of course, of hearing the song of a bird, especially a caged bird, and somehow equating that with the wisdom from the great books is always going to be a fun speculation. How about this one, just to own this poem at 3B? What was the last time, or the best time of your life that you enjoyed the song of a bird? And to what degree is that more impressive than any amount of reading or study that you've done? And to what degree is reading Leaves of Grass kind of like listening to the song of a bird? Thank you.